But there is a time when everything, just the way I think 10 years back, online brands got built because legacy brands struggled to kind of sell online, and it couldn't be fixed just by hiring one guy and kind of saying he will kind of lead e-commerce for me. It's the reverse as well. You can't just hire one guy and say this guy will lead offline for me and I'm going to be there. Offline, if it is 80-90% of the overall market, you need to have a very strong strategy for it, and your right to exist in that is determined by so many things.
You said another very interesting thing, and this is something I've asked so many people, and I think is the backbone of building.
Yeah.
And that is culture.
The question of work-life balance, I think it didn't occur to me.
Didn't exist for us.
It doesn't exist for me today also,
Yeah.
because that's the way I've been ingrained. To me, work is an extension of me. I don't think of work. I've never had Monday blues. I don't understand the meaning of Monday blues. And however much people might say, because I can't relate to that, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Welcome back to the Lifeboat Season 2. In this episode, we are thrilled to feature a leader whose vision combines innovation, strategic thinking, and a deep understanding of the evolving business landscape. Meet Piyush Goenka, a dynamic investor and a change maker who's reshaping industries with his bold ideas. पीयूष की जर्नी एक यूनिक ब्लेंड है कॉर्पोरेट एक्सेलेंस और entrepreneurial ड्राइव का. From managing large-scale operations to creating agile solutions, he has mastered the art of balancing precision and creativity. In our conversation, Piyush reveals the secrets behind building sustainable business models, navigating market challenges, and fostering a culture of growth and collaboration. Whether it's embracing emerging trends or driving transformative change, his insights offer a blueprint for success in today's fast-paced world. और पीयूष के साथ हम उनका पर्सनल साइड भी एक्सप्लोर करेंगे. वो मेंटर्स जिन्होंने उनका बिजनेस के अराउंड पर्सपेक्टिव बदला, उनके रेजिलियंस को टेस्ट करा और उनके जिंदगी के लाइफ कोच बनकर उनके इस जर्नी में उनको गाइड करा. फ्रॉम एन इन्वेस्टर्स पर्सपेक्टिव, what does he look at before he invests and puts money in a company? What does he look at behind choosing the right founder to put across the money? What does he look at as quality in terms of betting on that particular horse to say that that particular company will break the ceiling and break the barriers? So get ready to dive into an inspiring story of leadership, innovation, and purpose. Let's embark on this incredible conversation with an incredible investor, Piyush Goenka, on the Lifeboat. Welcome to the Lifeboat. Stories that keep you afloat.
So I'm going to start straight away with a very interesting question. यार एक इंसान को वो जो कॉलिंग होता है, जो बुलावा होता है कि सेफ्टी नेट हटा के, द यूजुअल कोर्स ऑफ पाथ हटा के, नौकरी जिसे कहते हैं, जिसमें पगार आती है, जिसमें हर महीने के एंड में आपको एक सिक्योरिटी आती है, वो सब हटा के बंदा बोलता है नहीं यार अब आई वांट टू डू समथिंग ऑफ माय ओन. कभी कभार ये कॉलिंग बहुत पहले ही आ जाता है, which we are seeing nowadays. कभी कभार calling comes after you've got yourself baptized by fire.
Right.
How does this calling come, या पीयूष? ये थोड़ा सा इस mindset को describe करो, because you are so uniquely placed, भाई, to be able to have seen the lens of an investor, the lens of an entrepreneur, the lens of an entrepreneur. So थोड़ा सा 360 degree perspective लेके जरा बताओ इसका. What is this mindset?
So it's I think each person decides their own journey. I think I was born in a business family, so from there only it was kind of, I didn't see anybody in a job growing up. In fact, of the possibly 50 plus odd cousins I will have on my mother's father's side put together, might have been the only one who ever was in a job. And these are businesses of different scales and sizes, and I've seen how businesses can become very large and how businesses can get destroyed over generations, despite being fairly well-to-do and large at certain point of time. So I was at DNA level always an entrepreneur. In fact, something that reminded me of that very recently was during the placement week when I was passing out. Somebody asked me, what do you want to do? And it was a friend.
Passing out with substances, without substances?
That happens post
passing out.
Placement week. So that was so I said that I want to give job to 1,000 people. Actually, I don't think it was something that I had thought about too much before that.
Okay.
And it came out just naturally, and it's something that I think got completely life took over, and over the last 25 years a lot of things have happened, but that thing of being able to kind of create something for someone else, being an entrepreneur, that was always there. All through this period of my working life, I don't think I ever worked as a salaried professional. I see myself as someone who was always self-driven, who was motivated. I would actually at several times be pushing the real owners of business to do more than what they were doing. But
I can vouch for it. Not just the owners, even everyone around.
so it's a mindset. It's about kind of doing that where you say that you want to bring about, you're not happy with the status quo, you want to be driven to be able to bring a bigger change than what it is. And as an investor, you are genuinely able to, if you are rightly if you're thinking right and if your intentions are in the right place, you're able to influence a lot. When Tano decided not to do their next fund, I think I took that as, I think for even for a minute it didn't come to my mind that let's apply for a job. Didn't apply for a job. I was very, very clear I will start out. Maybe I would have done that 5 years back, but again, I didn't think Tano is a job. There were things to be done.
Yeah.
We still had a portfolio which needed to be exited and return money needed to be returned to our investors, and I saw that as something that I had to do before I start out. So it happened later than what I would have ideally wanted to do, but it was very clear.
आपने बोला था कि फाउंडर को पता चलना चाहिए कि भाई ब्रांड बनाना बहुत मुश्किल है.
Right.
कंज्यूमर बिजनेस में इट इज अबाउट द ब्रांड.
Right.
एंड ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर टू स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट्स. लाइक एक इंसान बोलता है यार तुम ब्रांड के पीछे क्यों जा रहे हो, ब्रांड बनाना इतना मुश्किल है, प्लेटफॉर्म बना लो, much easier. Platforms are bigger stories. Take a Zomato, take a Swiggy, take some other examples as platforms. They've done so many. कौन सा अगर Zomato को रेस्टोरेंट बनाना पड़ता शायद फेल हो जाता. Now a consumer founder is driven by that passion to say कि यार मैं तो brand बना रहा हूँ. Yet it is the most difficult thing to do. Take us through some thoughts at your end to say कि यार if my question as a founder I come to you and say that Piyush, how do I build a brand? What are those things which are the biggest hurdles at the initial level to build a brand? And how can I make it sustainable over a point of time on the assumption that I don't have external capital yet?
Right.
What are those basic things about creating a brand? Brand hota kya hai? How does one build a brand?
Yeah. So there are different parts to this question. Brand versus platform, or I would say a marketplace is one question. The other is just about how to kind of build a brand. How should founders be thinking about this? We are also building a brand for ourselves, so we can.
We all are.
Yeah, we are all.
Lifeboat bhi brand ban raha hai.
Lifeboat. Yeah, all of these are. We are all making.
The brand is we will become our lifeboat at one point of time.
So, firstly, brand versus marketplace. Marketplace is a very different business, and we alluded to it a little bit. It is actually not far easier. It's far more difficult to do. Marketplaces get built. Zomato changed the way we were. So before that, we were going out when we needed to go out. So India, eating out was an occasion. That change in behavior to say that food is available to you at a click of a button and it can be brought to your shelf. It doesn't have to be occasion only. Right? That's what kind of built Zomato. If it was only an occasion thing, on occasion, people still would want to go out. Certain fraction of that you would have captured the
very
market.
small fraction.
But today, eating out is no more eating out.
Correct.
It's like eating outside food at home. That change of behavior took a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of capital to build those kinds of businesses. Whereas brands are kind of saying that okay, people eat out, right? So you want to start a restaurant, it's another one more option of the hundreds of thousands which are out there. You do a good job of doing that. You understand your customer, where he is, what does he want, and you deliver on it and you can build it. Actually, it's far easier to be done so long as you remain within what is relevant to building in that category and you continuously kind of keep at it. So when a founder starts out and he knows that he's trying to build a brand, the choices that he makes from day one, I think kind of are going towards that. A brand is not something tangible, right? It's actually what you and I would talk about, something, a brand with the founder not here, or how consumers think about it is what makes the brand, not what the brand says it is.
Correct.
because a lot of brands kind of will go and advertise themselves as X, but it's not the advertising, but the entire consumer journey of buying it, experiencing it post purchase, and then kind of saying, okay, this is what that brand means to me.
Yeah.
So it gets built over a period of time. It's not that
True.
it's not easy to build a brand.
बिल्कुल.
Most of the markets are cluttered.
बनता कैसे है? बेसिक ब्रास टैक्स पे जाते हैं. आई एम अ फाउंडर, आई वांट टू बिल्ड अ ब्रांड,
Right.
आई हैव नो clue about what are those parameters that I have to take care of. I don't have institutional capital yet,
Right.
but brand building फिर भी चाहिए for me to be able to attract. How does one build a brand? This is day zero question, Piyush.
Yeah. See, the ethos that you're building is all that there is. Okay. So today, day zero, you are saying you are building a food brand, let's say a snacking brand. And if you say that you are a healthy food brand, then don't do a eyewash of what healthy is, right? Make people understand. And we know that healthy food has this problem of we Indians like our taste, and actually it's globally that it comes taste first and then health is somewhere within that, and you have to deliver at a certain price point. But being true and saying that, okay, this is what my consumer, firstly understanding who your consumer is, saying he is looking for a healthier product and not necessarily a absolute healthy product which possibly might not be tasty enough for him to snack on. So you understand that and being true to that when you're communicating and standing for that and saying that, okay, I'm a healthier healthier version of your traditional snacking without compromising on taste, and maybe not too much of an additional expenses compared to what you're used to paying, is kind of then saying, okay, now I'm being true to what I stand for. Make sure that your consumers understand it and then deliver on it repeatedly, day after day. So that's what brand building is. Understand the consumer, what his need is, then be true to what you stand for. You can't fulfill all their needs, right? So once you understand that, and then delivering on that every day, and sometimes over exceeding his expectation also, but you can't over exceed on everything. But meeting his expectation on almost all parameters is important, and maybe exceeding in one or two areas.
पर उसको पता कैसे चलेगा कि ये एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है ऑप्शन और मुझे खरीदना चाहिए? वो भी तो एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इज अबाउट पेनिट्रेशन ऑफ द माइंडसेट बाय बिल्डिंग दैट ब्रांड, राइट?
See, today it's far easier done today than what it was. Traditionally, there was just mass media.
Correct.
People needed to have a certain scale or monies in pockets to kind of do advertising on TV or billboards. That's
वो
what
ATL
brand was.
BTL था अपना. आज के डेट का बताइए.
Today it's far easier to get
give
to a
some
consumer.
examples,
There is social media. Initial consumers are acquired through that only, where you basically advertise on Meta and you acquire customers and you deliver to them. That's how. So that's not branding, that's advertising to acquire customers. But that's once you deliver on them, and once that consumer says that this is what I want and comes to you as repeat, you are building the you can say the building blocks of building a brand. That's what happens. So
And that's on quality of the product.
that's on
Finally.
quality of the products, of the experience that they have. It's quality is just one thing,
Correct.
right? You have to meet his need.
Yeah.
Like,
But product is hero is what everyone says. Do you agree to that or do you say that नहीं, product तो hero होना ही चाहिए, लेकिन उसके साथ 5 और चीजें होने चाहिए? Like you said something brilliant about customer experience.
right. See, definitely product has to be the hero. Everything else without the product does not kind
Correct.
of deliver. And product, but at the same time, product being a hero comes from what? Comes from understanding. You're not saying absolute hero, right? In most categories, absolute hero might be too expensive
Correct.
for the consumer. For that consumer, what he wants, if you're able to deliver good product, is kind of non-debatable. But there has to be bells and whistles around it, where you are able to, like, just what quick commerce has done. Okay, that same product today, the consumer wants it today, right? Consumer wants it now. 10 minutes, 15 minutes expectation which is coming. Just being able to deliver on this expectation of consumer has created a different demand pocket, right? I think new retail channels are changing the way we are consuming across categories. While it might have started with grocery or F&B as a category, it's happening in our expectation has changed. Today, our willingness to wait in any category wherever we are shopping is almost zero. We want everything today. At most, maybe we'll wait in some categories for tomorrow. The day after, we have changed our mind. We have moved on.
Yeah.
Right? That's got nothing to do with the product alone. That's got to do with a consumer behavior which has changed. And today brands have no choice. Like everything can't be sold through quick commerce. You are selling through your own website, through several other channels.
Yeah.
But that expectation of consumer is now the same across all of those things. So how do you deliver that same promise on other channels as well? So all of those things are equally important. But like product is definitely has to be a hero. If you think you can build this without kind of just you understand the playbook and the product is not the hero, it doesn't work. It starts with the product.
You said something very interesting about shift in consumer behavior. And you're so right, because आज के date पे suddenly you see quick commerce delivering even a t-shirt to you,
Right.
which was unheard of पहले.
Right.
A lot of times, therefore, the dependency on third-party logistics and other providers, which was there for first mile to last mile, is now getting shifted here. Maybe margins are increasing as such. So I'm going a little more deep because you deal with so many such situations. When one needs to go across and look at this entire customer experience, one of the customer experiences about speed. Product, of course, we spoke about. Quality, of course, we spoke about. Now, when you look at this, you also say that speed is determined on multiple channels.
Right.
Now, if I am a founder who's just starting out, and I'm like, यार मुझे तो Amazon पता था, Flipkart पता था, अपना वेबसाइट मुझे एक बनाना है, वो प्लेटफॉर्म बैकएंड हो सकता है, Shopify हो सकता है, 25 चीजें हो सकते हैं, बट if I want to now start with this entire idea, again एकदम day zero question, what is channel partners all about? What are these channels? How do I get into it? And how do I reduce my logistics cost to reach the consumer at the most seamless manner, and yet in a manner where I don't fear the repeat will come in?
Right.
So what are those parameters to start on day zero, say that these are the channels that I can go into, and what is this channel partnership all about?
So each channel plays a role in the way your business gets built. Okay.
Define the channels. What are the channels?
At a very basic level, there is online and offline. Online, you have your own website, which is D2C as a channel, direct to consumer for people who do not know that. But there are marketplaces, the traditional e-commerce marketplaces, and now the emerging quick commerce marketplaces. And then you would have offline channels, which would include multiple channels within that. There could be B2B, there could be modern trade, there could be general trade, and you have to choose between all of these when you're starting out, which one to kind of focus on and prioritize. I think eventually,
So
I think people
important.
want to be everywhere at certain scale and size. If you become a 500,000 crore business, you can't say I'm not here, I'm not there.
Then you have to be everywhere.
I'm a digital first of this. You're a brand. You have to be there wherever your consumer is consuming. But priorities get set based on where you are in the evolution.
Correct.
Some of these are easier channels to build because you get access to their distribution. So you would always want to be at online marketplaces because that you can benefit from their distribution and reach. So if you're on Amazon, Flipkart, or on the quick commerce marketplaces, there is their distribution. There is a price that you pay to access that distribution, but it allows you a network, pan-India network, to get created. And most of these are fairly kind of well-established signs now what you need to be doing to be able to grow in each of these spaces. You do those and you will see positive momentum come in, so long as everything else is obviously kind of taken care of. Then there is D2C. D2C kind of is something which allows you to deliver directly to the consumer, talk to him directly, understand him better than what anyone else can. And this traditionally used to be very difficult to do, right? People used to have EBOs,
Correct.
people used to do these market surveys, people used to have their promoters standing in other people's doors to do sampling, to get feedback on products and all of that. Today, it's far more easier to be done with D2C, and it's been there for some time. We have seen people
What is
do-
EPOs?
EBOs are exclusive business outlets.
You should
which
say
is-
that also for the benefit of the viewers.
Sure. Yeah. So that's how people would do traditionally, right? Today you have this channel which allows you to say, now I'm talking directly to my
my
consumer.
consumer.
It validates who your consumer is to begin with.
Hmm.
So I talk to founders and they say my consumer is between 15 to 40. I say you're talking about 80% of online generation. If that's what you define, all your definition of your consumer is, then you have not understood your consumer, because obviously that's the entire set of
Correct.
people who are actually purchasing online.
True.
So when you start selling online, spending time to firstly understand who are the guys who your brand is resonating with, or who you're building for. Is that happening? Sometimes you start pointers, you know that this is who you want to build for, and then you build product accordingly. Sometimes you've launched a product and you're saying where it's resonating, and then double down on that and kind of build. But it's an extremely important channel. It is a far more expensive channel to build, because you have to basically get people to your website in this cluttered world where people are spoiled for choices.
Correct.
Right? So you have to spend that money through your spends on performance marketing, and you acquire that customer, but you have the ability then to understand how does he behave when he comes to your website. Your performance marketing ads also tell you so much: what works, what doesn't work, what is the when you spoke about X versus when you spoke about Y, which worked and which kind of, what is it that the consumer was looking for. So that plays its own role. It's more expensive to build. So we see a lot of founders who are bootstrapped find it difficult to kind of build in that at the early stage unless they have a huge winner. So we have companies who we see who are 3 months of operation, they're profitable in D2C. They're doing something extremely right. We see D2C as a loss leading channel. Even at large scale, 100 crore brands say that there is a reason why D2C is, it's not going to make money, but we understand so much about consumer, which is great. But if you are saying that, okay, my product is so great, differentiated, and there is such an acceptance at consumer level that in the initial stages itself, not just can I acquire consumer, but acquire them profitably. That's like phenomenal. It doesn't happen very often, but we are seeing some brands who are able to do that. So to understand all of this, offline is like, for most categories, offline is anywhere between, let's say, 90% on the higher side to, let's say, 40-50% on the lower side. Most of them would be 80-90%. So can you ignore that as a brand? But there is a time when for everything, just the way I think 10 years back, online brands got built because legacy brands struggled to kind of sell online, and it couldn't be fixed just by hiring one guy and kind of saying he will kind of lead e-commerce for me. It's the reverse as well. You can't just hire one guy and say this guy will lead offline for me and I'm going to be there. Offline, if it is 80-90% of the overall market, you need to have a very strong strategy for it, and your right to exist in that is determined by so many things, right? And all of those offline channels are not for everybody. People use offline, it's like one channel, it's like one market, go out there and it'll happen. Depending upon category, depending upon the price points, depending upon actually which consumer you want to build for, the relevance of each of those offline channels are different. You decide in your journey when you want to do that. You have to be ready for the long-term game. It's the reason why there was excitement around consumer was the disruption of the traditional offline channel, saying that online could take you pan-India and be available for every consumer in the click of a button. Now you're saying it's reverse. Having done online, I want to go offline, which is the turf which is of the big boys, right? When you want to go there, you know that you have done it right. Several things are so different in offline versus online.
True.
Online is all about your own D2C, allows you to experiment, which means you can have so many SKUs.
Correct.
And figure out which works. Whereas if you go offline, it's about shelf space. How will you get shelf space for so many SKUs? You need to know which your winners are. Go and kind of place only those. Relationship with each of those people in that entire channel is so important.
Yeah.
People, for them, that each of the shelf space can deliver certain return for them. If you're not able to deliver that, you are going to lose that.
Yeah.
And you make mistakes and you going back again over there are difficult. We have seen so many very basic mistakes being made on offline by people wanting to go there too early. And it's expected. You know that this is something that's going to happen because this is not their natural turf. This is not their home turf.
Yeah.
And you're going into the game of the big boys. But can it be done? Obviously, it can be done. But it's about understanding where you are, who you are building for, and where do they buy, and when are you ready for it as an organization to take it there.
True. It's about timing.
Yeah.
You said another very interesting thing, and this is something I've asked so many people, and I think is the backbone of building.
Yeah.
And that is culture. How does one create that right culture? And how does culture directly have an impact on the bottom line as well? Because it does. Very few people actually understand the importance of it.
Right.
But culture is directly proportionate to your bottom line in a great way. So take us through your mindset of a culture, Piyush.
To me, organization culture is built at the top. Whether you be inclusive and say that you're going to be empathetic the towards the entry level forces or the wider organization is got nothing to do with culture setting. If the owners of the business behave in a certain manner, that becomes the way it is expected that the rest of the organization will behave. You can't say that we have a culture of working only 8 hours a day and we should go home. There has to be work life balance. But when you are giving job to somebody, you give it at 7 in the evening when you leave and expect it to be on your table at 9 in the morning. So what you behave kind of drives that. And the other way around also, we have seen people, they say that I am going to work for 20 hours a day. So that becomes a accepted culture. So, and it's organizations are also living beings and they take cues from the top. They don't take cues from the bottom. How organizations can evolve today, expectation of people is very different. The workforce, I think millennials versus Gen Z in their expectation of what they want from a workspace is very, very different. So they have to possibly evolve in their thinking, but they can't say that that evolution will happen because the Gen Z is behaving in a certain manner, which is different from the way the top part of the organization is behaving. You have to then change the way the top part is behaving. And that is what you were, I think, referring to as to how do you be empathetic towards that and change behavior. But it all comes from what the founders believe, how they want to go about, what kind of work culture they want to have. Is it a place where people like coming to work, where people make friends, or is it a place where it's toxic culture? And we have seen traditionally a lot of high performance organizations used to have toxic cultures, right? A lot of banks and all foreign banks specifically, and several other places. We know there was this thing of competition between peers, performance. A lot of very hardcore sales driven organizations used to be like that. Everything about the numbers and all. If that's the way the organization was to expect that you will be empathetic towards somebody who wants work life balance, it's not going to happen, right? But you know that a large part of the workforce today, because of where we are as an economy in terms of the evolution, doesn't want to work 16 hours days. There is so much debate from so many people about this wanting what is like that work life balance, where should it kind of fall. There is no right wrong answer to it. I think you can build a business in every way you want. I don't think that one should take a pedestal and say that that this is the only way to be for a work culture to be. The question of work-life balance, I think it didn't occur to me.
Didn't exist for us.
It doesn't exist for me today also, because that's the way I've been ingrained. To me, work is an extension of me. I don't think of work. I've never had Monday blues. I don't understand the meaning of Monday blues. And however much people might say, because I can't relate to that, it doesn't mean anything to me. But today's Gen Z, and you talk to any 20, 25-year-old, they want their work to occupy a certain place in their life. They don't want them to define their work. They define themselves by far many more number of things. Either you incorporate all of that in the workplace, where you say, if I need people to be here 16 hours, all 16 hours can't be just doing X. You bring a lot of what they do to the workplace, or you have to change a little bit so that Gen Z can also relate to the work.
एक इंसान 1500 पोटेंशियल अपॉर्चुनिटीज देखता है और फिर सिर्फ 7 में इन्वेस्ट करता है.
Right.
थोड़ा सा हम इस पे जाएंगे कि for the purpose of our viewers, imagine if you've seen 1500 portfolios and decided on only 7. You're a very hard nut to crack. है ना? What therefore are those parameters where if someone has to go across and be acceptable to an investor like you, the ticks in the boxes can be factored in.
Right.
So simplistically put, एक business में आप क्या देखते हो to consider it worth putting your money in? When I say your money, as a custodian, the LP's money, because fiduciary responsibility is much higher. So वो क्या चीज देखते हो आप एक फाउंडर में, एक बिजनेस में, फॉर इट टू से कि इसमें मैं पैसा डालूंगा और बाकी 1400 93 1493 portfolios में मैं नहीं डालूंगा. So take us through that mindset, take us through that experience, take us through that curve for our viewers.
Sure. Let me start by what Prath Ventures is and what it does. So Prath Ventures, we started about a year and a half back as a consumer-focused early-stage investment firm. It basically partners with consumer brands and other consumer businesses in their journey to build out large businesses. We basically come in fairly early, seed to series A investing, mostly kind of 8-10 crore kind of check sizes, uh, in businesses which have started off the ground and are looking for partners in their journey. These are usually founders who are building across multiple categories in consumer. You are aware about some of them that we've done. We think that India, where it stands today, provides that opportunity to build across multiple categories. We have to choose well, and founders have to choose well in terms of the categories that provide better opportunities than others. But we as a firm, we are very focused that we are somebody who are partners. We repeatedly everywhere, and this is something we've spent a lot of time on. Harman and I, we actually, there was at least 3 to 4 month period before we decided we wanted to do together. There was a lot of thrashing of what values do each of us stand for, and what would Krath stand for.
Correct. Because co-founders' values drive the values of the organization.
Absolutely. And we have seen that if a founder is able to think about you as a partner, if he is able to think about you as someone who sits on the same side of the table rather than pointing fingers and asking questions only, I think that's a dramatic shift. And this is something that we genuinely believe and tell our founders time and again, that this is who you are choosing as an investor. We believe we are partners, and you should hence behave with us as partners. We will help solve rather than just ask questions, which is what I think genuinely
quite a few people do.
I think it's also part of the job. So it's not that we won't ask questions, but when you ask questions, it has to be with the intention of trying to solve rather than
be a part of the solution as against just being the part of the questioning the problem.
Absolutely. So that's what Prath does. We are happy. We have made a solid start. We have started investing year and a half back.
उनका हमेशा साइलेंट होता है भाई, आधे से ज्यादा टाइम तो फोन ही नहीं उठाते. मेरा ग्राउस ही वही है, 4 बार फोन करने के बाद तो उठाया है.
दीदी कौन है?
हाँ, कट करके फायदा नहीं है ना. डीप तो इतना आ जा रहा है. Don't blame the wife for all of these things.
I'm not blaming her. She's not here. I'm kind of appreciating her that she takes care of it. I'm saying that if she was here, that would have been the last thing.
Chalo. You just said one thing. I want to again just deep dive into this, because this is how it is, right? Half of it, as I said, there's a bunch of cue cards which I never look at, and my team is always pissed about it. But हम live ही करेंगे. आपने एक बहुत interesting चीज अभी बोला. A founder has to choose well, and you have to choose well. Actually, बहुत depth है इसमें. Take us a little granular around this, because this is about intangible capital much more than tangible capital.
Right.
So ये होता क्या है? What do you mean by a founder has to choose well and the investor has to choose well? And what are the nuances of those intangible capitals that Prath and you and Harman stand for?
Right. So when we are choosing founders, at the end of the day, we are capital providers who is doing this for a finite period of time and is looking for an exit. So the brass fact is that we are looking for returns on our capital, right? So there is a tendency to choose founders who will drive that return. If you are choosing only on somebody's capability to drive returns, then that's what you get. We are choosing founders who we believe understand consumer businesses. Consumer business is slightly different. So venture or early stage investing globally or in India started with tech investing, where there was disruption in the way we were living our lives, we were doing our businesses, and there were efficiencies that were being driven, or change in consumer behaviors that was being driven by these newer companies, which required large amount of capital, and the success rates were much lower. And hence people would say, okay, this is something, if let's say you are taking a call that India e-commerce will become large 10 years back, then you had to back 20 guys who were starting out and provide them enough capital and make sure that the one which becomes a winner, keep providing them more and more capital. That was the original way of early stage investing everywhere in the world. Consumer brands are unfortunately not tech businesses, right? And which people need to understand, founders, investors, everyone.
I mean, tech can be an enabler, it can never be a disruptor in consumer business.
When we are choosing founders who understand the business they are in, which is not always true, right? just because you're in a business doesn't mean that you understand what will lead to creation of value in that,
Bilkul.
creation of a large business in that.
This is very deep.
And it's the other way around as well, right? So when founders are choosing investors,
हाँ.
they have to choose people who they believe will be just a partner for them in this journey of creating value. If you're choosing based on valuation, if you're choosing based on pedigree, then you get that. It's very easily, capital is far more easily available than I've seen in my journey 20
True.
years back, 25
आज
years back.
वर्सेस हम जब करते थे बहुत आसान है. Correct.
Which makes it that founder has a responsibility when he is choosing that. That what he wants to create, if he chooses a partner who is focused on just scale and he wants top valuation, then that's what he will get, and that's what he will get pressure from. And we've now, I think last year and a half, we hear a lot about investors pushing founders to build scale at all costs and a lot of that. It has happened. Nobody can deny it. A lot of investors do that. But some of it is in the choice that founders have made as well. So if you've chosen that way, then that's something that you have to learn to live with. We don't choose our founders like that. We are not those kind of investors. We want to invest in founders who know what consumer businesses are, what are they building, driven from a consumer insight. And J-curve does not happen very easily in consumer brands. It is you keep on building piece by piece. You build a product based on what you understand the gap is, and then you go out and try to build around it. The core set is, I think, slightly easier for people to get. So you're able to see the initial traction, which excites a lot of people. But to build from there is very difficult. To build beyond the core, understanding
The 1 to 10 and then the 10 to 100.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult because very easily copyable businesses, right? So you do something well, someone else will copy
Correct.
it. So your brand, what it stands for, building the brand very early on, saying that this is something that you stand for, and kind of just double dipping into what is it that I can scale? What feature of my product is something that people like, and I just can scale that. Is extremely important. It is easier for people to just say, okay, let's keep raising money, let's keep kind of scaling it. You add more products, you add more geographies, you add more channels, and there is some validation that okay, this is working. But somewhere, if underlying product, which is in several things, depending upon categories, it could
Correct.
be repeats. Depending upon categories, it could be more adoption rates.
Correct.
So it's not all categories are the same, right? Some categories have very high repeats. So if you have been able to build a product which has a moat, which has a differentiator, it will get demonstrated in that. Some it becomes easier to acquire new customers because people are flippant in that category and they want to try new things. And if your thing is something which appeals to them, you will see that the acquisition base is suddenly kind of increasing at that pace. It's a mix of so many things, but both are choosing, and I think that's where it is. We were discussing earlier about how we spend 3 to 4 months doing a deal, and during that entire, so initially while the choice is being made in the initial 15-20 days where we are doing very deep dive work understanding the founder and the business, and I'm saying a lot of people just want to understand the business and not the founder, or the other way around. There are firms which are
Correct.
built saying that I'm just backing the founder.
Correct.
Right. And nothing is right or wrong. Everyone has to find their own space and kind of grow. There is so much
And it's very
opportunity.
relative.
It is so much opportunity for everyone to do and create value. We spend enough time on both. We are asked enough question which comes first. I don't think either comes first. You have to choose the category right. You have to choose. So there are three things: category, founder, and traction. I think if I have to compromise on one thing, it will be traction. Founder and category, you can't unfortunately go wrong, and that's why 7 out of 1500, right? Because we have found great founders in categories which we think are very difficult to build in, and the other way as well. So we can't back a average founder in a great category. Neither can we back a great founder in a category which is difficult to build in. Unfortunately, we are not managing our own money. If it was just our money, we would have possibly done. You're not driven by return considerations. You're not driven by considerations where you say, okay, it has to happen in a definite time frame. That time frame is large, but it's still a time frame. Like 7 to 8 years is what you would want to give a business, which is very long. But some businesses are at a stage like where health and fitness in India I feel is at a stage where we still talk more about it than then consume more in that category. Brands are going to get built which are going to be very large in this, but we have to find within that large category subcategories which are seeing traction and the right founders within that.
सिर्फ 3 चीज बताओ for our viewers who would want to approach you to say, yaar, what are those 3 fundamental qualities that you look at for them to be in the 7 ka category and not the 1493 ka category? 3 things that you believe are the biggest ticks in the mark for the DNA of that founder to say you would put money on them.
Right.
Just 3.
If you do not understand consumer behavior in your category, then it is very difficult to build it.
What is consumer behavior?
Is simply put, all of us consume things. When you decide to drink a cup of coffee, you're deciding, okay, to begin with, you're deciding tea or coffee, hot or cold beverage and all of that. And once you decide it's coffee, you're choosing a brand. So how does consumer go through this entire process of deciding between brands? Where does he buy? How does he buy? When does he buy? And how can you influence that change? Understanding all of this takes some bit of time to be able to do it. Just offering a better product in consumer is not enough. The consumer has to be a better product for consumer in his consumption journey. That entire purchase funnel which is there, you have to understand that funnel very, very well, from awareness to coming in consideration to kind of really converting that into a sale. Where and what you do differently and superior to what's available. There is a lot of work that legacy brands are doing everywhere, and you are coming in, you are saying you will provide something superior to that. That is consumer understanding of consumer behavior or their purchase journey. You have to disrupt something within that, and consumer disruptions are not like completely, it's not
Correct.
it is not kind of shaking the world. It is just understanding something. Okay, this is broken. This if it is done better, it will provide enough number of consumers to say that I want to move to this. So that understanding, I think, is very important. Some of them are getting it from past experience. Some of them are actually getting it when they start out. They understand, they get excited about a category, they start out, and that's when they take 2-3 years, 4 years to kind of come to even a stage where we can evaluate them. And they're saying, okay, now I've understood this. We know that this part is broken, and we want to double down on this and want to kind of build on that. So that's I think one is just the category
and relatability to the category.
Relatability to
Second?
the category. I would say is passion, the passion that they bring to this, and there is.
पर लाइफ में कुछ भी विदाउट पैशन होता नहीं है ना.
But
शिद्दत, मोहब्बत, जुनून हर चीज के लिए चाहिए.
it's easier said than done.
So fashion is also generic. Passion is also overrated. थोड़ा सा इसको deep जाते हैं ना. What do you mean by passion? What is the definition of that passion for my viewer to be in that 7 selected by you versus the 1493 rejected by you?
Passion, I would say, is somebody saying that, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is what I've defined. We don't know what we'll be doing 10 years hence, but at that point of time, you have decided that, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. And you know that you would do anything to make this happen. It's something that keeps you awake at night. It's something that keeps you going during the day. It is something, and it comes across. It's a far more difficult thing to define than a lot of other things, but it comes across in meetings where founders say that, okay, this is what we want to build and this is why we want.
And you sense it.
It is.
Room में पता चल जाता है.
Yeah.
Like you have to be more passionate when you talk about passion right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Passion. Third. सोचा नहीं था ना, जब सिर्फ 3 चीज को ड्रॉ डाउन करना पड़ता है, ज्यादा सोचना पड़ता है.
Obviously, I am thinking. I want to say things which are relevant and right, because.
And non-clickbaity.
So yeah, coming to the third one. Yeah. So building a business requires not just you to do well; it requires an organization to perform well. And being a true leader of people is extremely important.
Therefore, team.
How you build about building the right team, the right culture in the organization, the way you behave kind of sets the tone for the rest of the organization as well. So while we are spending time with the founders, there is very little to be seen in terms of the rest of the team as top quality people, but the way you behave today, your behavior kind of determines the kind of people you will be able to attract in your journey.
Correct.
motivate enough to be part of your journey.
Correct. In consumer sector, a lot of times the founder has to be the face of the brand. So, as a result, what happens is, while there are several other businesses, let's take an example of financial services, which may be far more profitable, far deeper, far larger, but it's institutional, it's brick and mortar. The founder is perhaps not even known other than his inner circle of institutions and his sector, because he's never out in the front. But a consumer brand which can be, 1/10 of the size of a financial services company, the founder is far more popular because he or she is required to be in front of the camera. And social media doesn't help or lessen the burden of being in front. The problem what I'm talking about is that small gradual shift in that founder's mindset, Piyush, to say कि यार मैं तो बिजनेस बनाते बनाते सडनली इन्फ्लुएंसर बन गया, या फिर मैं कुछ क्रिएट करते करते सडनली हीरो हीरोइन बन गया. I have so many articles now about me, the Fortune stack chasing me, the Forbes chasing me, the Falana chasing me, the Dimkana chasing me, and all of this is great for hubris. And बहुत बार क्या हो जाता है कि ये hubris then goes on to various other things, कि भाई अब मैं ज्ञान गुरु भी बन गया, मैं लिंक्डइन में बहुत सारे आर्टिकल्स लिखूंगा, अच्छे सारे चीज़ें लिखूंगा. There's no wrong or right. A lot of people who've actually built can share, and it's great learning. But a lot of times we've seen people are doing this for the sake of doing it. It is more than about I-centric than we-centric. And this is a problem in this sector, where people say it builds hubris, and therefore the founder's direction gets lost, to say now money is being spent in a manner to build the brand, but somewhere that little bit of gray line has come in between the brand vis-a-vis of the company and brand vis-a-vis of the founder. How relevant is this problem? And in your mind, how do you advise our viewers to not get swayed by this? It's like addiction, right? You get that, you see the fame and you're like, my God, I don't want to be a part of it.
Right.
But it's also so short-lived if you don't deliver and you don't succeed.
Right.
So take us through this mindset. It is a genuine, I believe it's a genuine cancerous moment in terms of this sector. And it's I'm being a little harsh, you may tell me no.
Yeah.
But I've heard so many people talk about this.
Right.
Tell us and advise the viewers on what to do versus what to stay away from.
I'll tell you, we were talking about how brands get built.
Yeah.
There was a way in which brands got built traditionally, and nobody cared who the owner of that brand
Right.
was. People buying a product, and that brand stood for something, right? I don't think any of us could name the consumer products we're buying off the shelf who the owner was.
Yeah.
And there was just that way is HUL owned like more 100 brands, and people were buying that for the brand that it was.
Correct.
And they were selling premium brands as well, mass brands as well, and in some categories even luxury brands.
Correct.
So that same kind of company was giving you all of those various brands, and that's how they were getting built.
Correct.
Come to today's world, I think there is a different way in which brands get built. How consumers are making their choice, which we were referring to earlier. And in some of the categories and some of the price points, your consumers want to relate to the founder who is building in that. Especially if you're building something which is beyond just basic. You're saying that you stand for something more than beyond the category, right? People want to see the authenticity of that. And hence the relevance of the founder profile becomes important. Some of the social media or the medias that you mentioned are relevant because the consumers are there. They're consuming content over there, and hence if you're able to resonate with that consumer, you are actually building a brand to help your own brand to help the consumer buy your thing better. So where to draw the line in this, where it becomes a kind of hubris, or where it is somewhere not contributing towards business but something else, I think thankfully for us, we come in at a stage where it is, if people are doing this, it is very early stage, and we believe it's contributing towards business. It is required also in some categories, and in some categories you can't do without doing that, and possibly it's just a way of creating business. Your consumers are out there. The brand, like LinkedIn as a platform, the brand itself cannot get created. It is the individual brand only which can get created, and if people buy into that individual brand, their possibility of buying into the product that he is selling or the consumer brand that he's selling will be higher. I don't think it is to my mind, not reach a certain level. We know that there are people around who get consumed by this. It is true for everything, right? You have to know what you started this out for, and so long as that purpose is being served, it's fine. Social media also kind of consumes people's lives. So at the consumer level also it's incorrect,
Yeah.
and at the founder level, if it takes you away from business, it's not contributing towards business, it needs a check. But generally I don't think there is in our portfolio or people that we see that it's kind of taking over their entire time, and they become consumed by their own brand creation over this, but more as a enabler for what has to be done for the business, and which is right. I
Which
think
is
it
right.
is required.
Fair. अच्छा अभी now we're going to come to the last part of our थोड़ा light करेंगे अभी काफी interesting हुआ but before we go there what's your feel of all of this, what's your feel of how do you like it मतलब you've seen some of the episodes, you've seen what I'm building, you're seeing what Lifeboat is trying to go across and create, so what's your take as a consumer of this content, as a consumer of the entire ecosystem of what's happening, as a very dear friend of mine for the last almost 2 decades, what's your thought about all of this? कैसा जा रहा है? What is your feel?
I think it's reflective of who you are as a person.
ये वो सेगमेंट है जहाँ पे आपको बहुत सारे अच्छे अच्छे चीजें बता
अच्छी
रहे हैं
अच्छी चीजें बतानी है. Okay.
वरना आई विल डिस्क्लोज टू द पब्लिक कौन सा घड़ी पहने होते हैं
Yeah.
पर घड़ी पे फोकस करते हैं भाई
Not bought by my money, so it's okay.
oh nice, bought from returns.
Not even bought from returns. This is skills. This comes from skills.
यार वो स्किल वाला भी हम बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे, वो भी है मेरे पास लाइफबोट शॉट में मेरे भाई.
I think we as in being in the investment business interact with lawyers all our lives, all kinds of lawyers, good people, bad people. But I think there is a difference in your approach, and which is coming out in what you are building at Lifeboat. I've watched your relationship with people that you work with goes beyond work, and it's not just with me that has happened. And it's good to know it's happening at scale, and because if you have had a good relationship with me, it doesn't mean I didn't know that it was such a large number of people that you were able to do that with. So I think it's a great thing. You are able to bring out people.
मतलब
set
सोचा
them
था
in
होपलेस है
guidance.
लेकिन निकला नहीं.
थोड़ा कम hopeless.
Spoken like a true investor, never satisfied.
No, I think it's very good in this entire world of so many podcasts which are focused on different areas. I think this is specifically focused on bringing out what makes people what they are, and that's what's unique about it. And so keep at it. I think keep bringing out.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to build something different. I'm glad that I have friends like you who's making it worthwhile, because मैं तो सिर्फ सूत्रधार हूँ. What matters is the kahani, what matters is the stories, what matters is the learnings which become the true lifeboat for the viewers. Before we go through something which is very interesting called the lifeboat shots, I want to talk about the watch. More importantly, and it's again very deep, and I know how deep rooted your passion towards this one particular form of game is, right? But the thought behind that is more about the power of that extracurricular activity. Lot of times क्या होता है कि हम इतने बिखरे हुए रहते हैं as entrepreneurs. I say, you know, entrepreneurs में और इश्क में एक बहुत बड़ा commonality है. आप पूछोगे कैसे? तो ये वो एहसास है जो आपको एक ही वक्त में बिखारता भी है और एक ही वक्त में समेटता भी है. So आप बिखरे हुए भी रहते हो और समेटे हुए भी रहते हो. I don't know whether it's too much of Hindi for you, but what I'm trying to say is that downtime is so relevant, because as entrepreneurs and as founders, in your case, you know, you're in the business of investing, but you are an entrepreneur. So you also go through that same mental turmoil, right?
Right.
And this is such a lonely job. This is such a lonely spot. And mental wellness is unrelatedly, you know, it's so undermined today. It's not given the kind of importance that is there. One of the ways of looking at that balance, I believe, is in the essence of these extracurricular or passion points that come into play. Everyone has their own passion points. Yours is one which is revenue generating for you. Not bad. You managed to buy these kind of watches. But like, for example, Lifeboat is a passion project of mine. This gives me that same dopamine kick, right? What is your advice finally to the viewers in terms of always finding avenues with respect to that balance of the mind, because it is a marathon? Or is it to say that stay so linear, stay so focused in your initial days that you have no time for all of this? You just have to keep building, building, building. There are two takes again. I don't want to go into right and wrong of the takes, but what is your advice finally to our viewers to say, when you're in the journey of building, what should be the mindset for those initial years?
I think one needs to have passions in life. That's something is very, very important. And it usually can't be just one thing. Your work, for some periods of time, for some people it's just one thing which they're driven by. They just want to do that. But it is a lot of hard work, and it's creating businesses is very tough. And it's not driven just by what you bring to the table. It's like the entire ecosystem, everybody going along. And so you need to have your outs. You need to have areas where you are able to balance this, and it can come in any form. It can come in the form of family, it can come in the form of extracurricular, whatever sport, game that you like. For me, it's actually all of it. I love playing poker. You know this. I've been playing now for maybe 7-8 years.
Because you're winning.
Yeah. that's a thing which is for something like this. If you have passion and if you're doing this regularly, and if you're losing, then it need to be someone else. It doesn't work with me. For me, it will not be an entertainment if I play every week and lose a decent amount of money. I think for me that was also a challenge, how to get better at this. Most of the people approach a lot of these things as, okay, just spending time. For me, if I'm not good at where I am kind of spending a lot of my time, it will just not work with me. So I spend a lot of time. You see this as winning money. For me, it was getting better at that game. And I spent a lot of time learning the game outside of the table, playing it.
Yeah.
And which usually doesn't happen. People think of it as gambling, or people think of this as time pass. For me, the time spent outside the table has helped me get better at the table. This was actually not bought. This is something that I won in a tournament that I had won. So it was, over a period of time, it has got validated by kind of becoming better at a sport which I really, really love. It is a sport. It is something which kind of challenges you on several fronts. And there was a point of time I was playing a lot of it. Now I don't get as much time, but the passion for the sport hasn't gone away anywhere. I love it, and I think I would want even more time to kind of play it.
So this last segment is a very interesting segment. It's called the Lifeboat Word Up.
Okay.
What's a word up? I will give you a word and you will tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of it. It's very cool. It's much better than your lifeboat shots, trust me. Because you'll never answer the goddamn shots without shots. First word, entrepreneur.
Risk taker.
Startup culture.
Startup culture is all about, I think, people following their passions more than, and people have following your passions.
Calling of the heart.
Yeah.
Ecosystem.
Your friends, your family who you can count on at any point of time.
The lifeboats.
Lifeboats, yeah.
Mentor.
Your genuine 2 a.m. friend.
Networking.
Overrated.
Pitch.
It's never what you think it is about.
Evolves.
Yeah.
Funding.
Extremely critical, but not what your business should be about.
Raise as much as you need.
Yeah.
Sustainable.
It's always been about that. That you have to build businesses which are sustainable.
The word is sustainable.
Yeah. It is the,
So business.
yeah.
Traction.
The reason why you exist, to be able to build a business, but being cognizant of what you are building. It's not everything. Traction, not everything. You are building a business and not just a month-on-month growth engine.
Interesting. Deep. Necessary.
Necessary, something that one needs to be able to move forward on everything. Your decision, your everyday decision. Something that kind of keeps you going forward in a small manner.
Equity.
I think people guard it closer than they should. They think that 0.1% makes a huge difference. It's about equity partner, choosing that well, and rather than about the stake that you would have. The percentage matters less than who that equity holder is.
Pain point.
It's always about kind of clearing the pain points in your thing rather than thinking of things as pain points. You have to think about what you need to do at that point of time to be able to do the next step. More often than not, they become hurdles. Thinking of just that is something that you need to kind of step over to kind of move forward.
Okay. Freemium.
I think it's just more of a investor word than anything else. I think it doesn't kind of mean much. It's an evolving model. I think Indians to subscribe needs to evolve from free to being able to pay, and I think as you get the paying subscribers, it kind of defines what you are building. Otherwise, yeah, it's just
Acha.
yeah.
Market.
Think it's not about time, it's about what you are addressing and what you can build. Knowing that, understanding that, it's very, very important. Largeness, I've seen actually, it just reminds me that I've seen a pitch deck where the addressable market was larger than India's GDP, and it was a India consumer business, and it was just unbelievable. That size it's not just about the size of some market that people are looking at.
Okay. And finally, scale.
It's a science. I think people need to understand you have to do things right. Scale happens. Scale is, you don't chase this and it happens. You build the business right, scale happens. Especially in consumer businesses, you have to build the right pillars. Scale will be the end result. You can't chase it and make it happen.
True. Wonderful. That brings us to the end of this lovely chat. And at the end, we have some, very nice lifeboat activity that we do, which is going to be about some memorabilia, as they call it. So this, my friend, is for you to write down something which we will keep in our lifeboat cupboard. And this is where I will write down something which you can keep as a small memory. And then the team will kick some nice Polaroid picture to keep it as a memory stick there as well.
Awesome.
All right. This is for you, my friend. And we will show it then to the camera. Okay.
Okay.
What have you written? My God, you've written so much. There you
Okay.
go. I will read
you
this
go.
out. You can read mine out. We have become lifeboats to each other, hoping for our friendship continues to give all the obviously. You are a lifeboat to me. There's no doubt about it. And to a great extent, I am where I am because of the love, affection, and faith that I've always got from you, right from the day I started Vertices. In fact, we know each other much earlier. One of the people that I bounced off to even start off the law firm was you, and you know that. So yeah, we've gone back and go back a long, long while. And thank you for being a lifeboat to me, and more importantly, for being a lifeboat to so many other people. I'm glad that we could do this.
Wonderful. Vinayak, I think it was an absolute pleasure to do this. I had a lot of fun, and keep building. I think
We don't have an option.
both Vertices and Lifeboat.
Yeah, we don't have an option. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.